Welcome to the EOB podcast, where we talk about the weekend box office and the new openings this week. I'm Benno, and joining me is Sen Dong. So, Sen, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Physically here. I'm not sure. I might still be waking up.
Oh, same here, same here. We'll start slow and then we'll rev up. As you said last week, we hope to get back on track because we were way off last
Right.
week's predictions. This week, you were back, but I'm still not there yet.
What numbers did I put out?
Let's jump right in. Coming in number one is Maze Runner: The Scorch Trials, which is the sequel to the Maze Runner.
Which was a surprise hit. I think the original one, the budget was only about 30 million, and it made about 30 million on its opening weekend.
Yeah, it opened to 32, and it went on to make, I think, a 238 worldwide.
Wait a minute, I thought it was like 350 something.
350? Maybe I got that wrong. Let's take a look.
Yeah, I think 250 is just the foreign figure.
Oh yeah, it made 340 worldwide. The 238 is the foreign figure. You're right.
Which is about 10 times its budget.
Yeah, it's amazing. A surprise hit. No one expected anything, especially me. I didn't expect it to do as well because it really didn't. It stars a bunch of no names. And it's kind of like a survival horror movie, like a bunch of kids got trapped in whatever situation and they need to survive, and they get picked off one by one by some unknown force or enemy or creatures.
Yeah. I think one of the problems was, other than the Hunger Games, since Twilight, there have been very few adaptations targeting the YA audience that have been successful. So people weren't very optimistic with Divergent or Maze Runner. And was Maze Runner? I think Divergent came out first, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. So especially Maze Runner, it was a low budget adaptation, and because of the duds in between Twilight and Hunger Games, people weren't expecting much for future YA adaptations, and then we get Divergent, and after Divergent we got Maze Runner.
Well, they pretty much got scared off by the City of Bones.
Yeah,
pretty much like a big budget bomb. That is one of the another YA adaptation. It has a couple books which they can milk for multiple movies, but it completely bombed, and they make people question, hey, why are we throwing money into these YA adaptation, quote unquote, when maybe the audience are really fickle. We couldn't really predict what they would do or what they would want to watch.
Yeah, right. Despite it bombing, weren't they planning on moving forward with a sequel anyway?
But that's what they say, but it's not. I don't think it will happen, because the thing with YA novels is, like, they star young people. These people grow up, just like the problem they run in with the Harry Potter movies, right? The actors age so quickly in real life.
I'm not sure. Well, in this case, it's not that bad. It's like most of the actors in the City of Bones are already over 30 anyway, pretending to be 18. So I think with Harry Potter it's harder, because Daniel Radcliffe was 9 or 10 when he started, and now he's an adult.
Right. I say he has facial hair and everything.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the City of Bones, it cost 60 million, and worldwide it only made 90 million. Which is a bomb, even though because you only get about half of the box office. And the 60 million doesn't include marketing costs. So they lost a chunk of money. The reason why I said when they going along with a sequel anyway was the people who made it, who financed the film, even a month or so after the film bombed, they were saying they're moving ahead with sequels anyway, but they're going to make it a lot cheaper. They're going to lower the budget from 60 million to 30 million or something. If they all able to make a sequel for 30 million, it might not be bad, because the movie did make 90 million worldwide, and at a budget of 30 million, you can make a decent profit from that. But people weren't that enthusiastic about the first one, so the prospects of it making 90 million worldwide again is very low.
True. Look, this like the City Mortal Instruments, the City of Bones is a movie that they got the right idea. It's a movie that needs to be expensive because there's a lot of special effects involved, like magic. Those things are special effects, and you try to make these things cheap. I don't think it's gonna work.
Well,
It's
you know what?
It's not going to be faithful. It's not going to be faithful to the book and what people.
But it depends though, because Maze Runner actually shows that you can do it. Maze Runner, the first one was only made for 30 million. So, and Maze Runner is a sci-fi. With sci-fi, you can't really. I guess you can in the 70s. You can go low budget, but nowadays it's hard to go low budget with a sci-fi film unless you're going for cerebral sci-fi. Like you say, some films it's just hard to make cheap.
It is because the thing with City of Bones is you need to create the environment. It takes
these supernatural characters.
Yeah, these gothic sets you need to build. And then there's all the martial arts, the fighting, the magic. Pretty much like every shot is a special effect shot.
Yeah, although I can't see them making that for cheap though, because it is essentially a martial arts epic film. People with superpowers doing martial arts, and I feel like the City, Mortal Instruments, the first one, they could have lowered the budget to 30 million.
Possibly, but this is second guessing. But who knows? But I'm just saying is that. I don't see a sequel happening. I'll be surprised if Sony decided to make a sequel because they are kind of in financial trouble. And for them to invest more money into a movie that it wasn't well received. It wasn't well received in the first place.
And more importantly, lost money.
Right. It's like, oh, you want me to give more money for you to lose more money? It's kind of those arguments.
Their pitches, we're asking you to give us less money.
Right. But I say, more importantly, our predictions.
Yeah. So the Maze Runner, the Scorch trials opened to 30 million, which is like about the same as the first film. So what
2
was
million lower. Yeah, 2 million lower than the first film, which is surprising. But more importantly, you had it at 35 million. You believe that it would be a tad higher than what it opened in the first, from the first movie. And I had it at 40. I thought, this movie looked way better, and it just better in every way than the first movie, visual-wise. So I thought that, hey, it's not a lot of big movies coming out. Competition is not there. So hey, I thought it had the potential to do 40. But it actually made less. It made 30.
You are right though. The budget, they did double the budget to 61 million. From the trailer, it looked like it cost a lot more than the first film. I'm glad they didn't go all crazy and do a $100 million movie, which they could have because it did gross 350 million worldwide. But they only doubled it. This figure is more like the Divergent series. It's gonna do slightly less than the first film, but still good enough for a third film. This one, especially this one, it'll be interesting to see how it does worldwide.
I believe it opened overseas first, and I think so far it already made like 78 million overseas.
Oh wow, it's already Oh okay, yeah. It's worldwide is already at 78 million overseas. Worldwide is 108, which is great.
And they keep the budget low. And unlike the previous movie, the one that we said, Mortal Instruments City of Bones, it costs around there. But this one, for some reason, people want to watch this one.
Yeah, well, because the first one wasn't bad. The first one was decently well reviewed too. This one, people mix is like 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. 50% isn't too bad. I think the first one was like 60%.
Yeah, but I think generally YA novel adaptations aren't that.
You wouldn't
expect the reviews to be good.
Hunger Games is like the only one. The Twilight movies were trash every time. No matter what director they threw in, experienced directors, Oscar-winning directors, still trashed by critics.
Right. Just the source material wasn't that great.
Yeah, but the Hunger Games were well reviewed, except for the last one.
Right. Okay, so we kind of got back on track,
Yeah. So the Maze Runner is kind of like the Divergent series,
and I think it bears a lot of similarity to the Divergent series also.
Yeah. So you kind of get your Twilight, Hunger Games tier where it's like 200 to 400 million. And then you have the Divergent series, which is about 150 million. And then I guess you have the Maze Runner, which is about 100 million.
Let's look at the bigger picture here. You can see some common stuff between the YA novels that are successful, like Maze Runner, Divergent, Hunger Games. You have these teens who are going against the man, some oppressive force, trying to escape, trying to survive. They all have these common themes.
Yeah, well, not just that. Interestingly, all three of these are sci-fi, and they're really sci-fi action adventure films, and they marketed us that. So maybe that's what you need.
Maybe. I mean, I'm sure that's what the producers are thinking as well. Saying, hey, look at the trend here. Look at what the young folks are turning out for and what are successful. And by looking at this, we're not the only ones seeing this, I believe. And they're going to make more.
Yeah.
Until it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. You need sci-fi, you need action, you need people fighting against the man.
Right. It's pretty much like kind of like the young people are feeling how they need to survive in all these Brave New World, etc. I guess this parallel lives.
They need to learn their skills, and they need to go to
make friends, and some are going to be also along the way.
Right, exactly. Kind of like high school or junior high.
Right. Okay. All right. Let's talk more Maze Runner next week. Let's see how well it holds up.
Okay.
And move on to the next new release. Coming in number 2 is Black Mass.
It's a biofilm, sort of, right? Sort of a biofilm.
Yeah, it's based on a true story.
As true as you can get with these Hollywood movies.
Yeah, it's a movie version of real events, starring Johnny Depp as the gangster. I think who does he play? Burger Whiteley or something like that. Who uses his connection as an FBI informant to take out rival gangs and place himself and his gang or mob or mafia, whatever, as a top criminal force in the East Coast. Yeah,
James Whitey Boger.
Okay.
That's his name. Pretty well reviewed on Rotten Tomatoes, 75%. That's pretty good for a wide release film, and that's probably one of the better reviewed Johnny Depp films in a while.
This is a movie where he is not cashing in a check. This is one where I'm tired of rolling in money. I want to get back the cred.
His vault is filled up. He can't stuff any more money in there.
Right. This is in between vault until he gets a new vault. He wants to make money.
Yeah, until the new vault. Yeah, until the new vault arrives. We got Black Mass. This is pretty good for him. The budget is relatively cheap, 53 million compared to his, like Pirates and the Lone Ranger, which is, all of them are like 200 million. And it's decently well reviewed, decent opening for this kind of movie, which is a drama, biopic type of movie. And it's kind of a comeback film for him. Kind of like The Visit is a comeback film for M. Night Shyamalan.
Except he never really left. It's just that he decided to make money.
Both of them decided to make money.
Right.
Yeah, true. Both of them were making money.
Right. And this Black Mass is one where say, hey, there's potential to win some awards to get my credibility back. And he took it. And like I say, the new vault wasn't ready.
Yeah. Right.
And you were pretty close in predicting its opening. You said it would do between 20 to 25. I said 30, and opened to 23.
Oh, okay. So for 1 week, I'm actually kind of decent.
Right.
But you won't fall off though.
Well, the reason is that I thought it would do better because I was doing comparison between Black Mass and The Departed. I thought they were similar movies, and they would probably make in the same ballpark. Yeah. So that's why I went higher.
I think The Departed has more mainstream appeal because it's not as dark. I read that Black Mass is very violent and very dark.
Right. And it also has like Leonardo DiCaprio,
Matt Damon, Jack Nicholson.
Right.
Just star-studded to the.
They pretty much
started to the max.
Yes, they pretty much bought that Oscar.
Pretty much. Yeah,
money. They're going to spend the money. They're going to bring out the stars. They pretty much bought it. They steamrolled everybody with that movie.
Well, you know, but sometimes,
see, you know.
yeah. But sometimes those things can implode, though.
Right,
like
but
sometimes
it ups your chances. That's what I'm saying. They want everybody.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, they weren't messing around.
Well, which is kind of like Black Mass too. The cast is not bad.
Yeah, it is a pretty good cast,
Mm-hmm.
but not as not as great as The Departed. But hey, pretty good.
Yeah, The Departed is when everyone involved say, "Let's get Martin Scorsese an Oscar."
yeah, pretty much.
Since he haven't won anything during his lifetime, surprisingly.
Yeah.
It's that movie where they say, "Hey, let's get Marty an Oscar."
Yeah, it's kind of like Saving Private Ryan. Hey man, this is our job. Martin Scorsese lost an Oscar. It never got to him. We need to find it.
They spare no expenses.
Yeah.
All right. As you say, comeback film for Johnny Depp. He's gonna get his kudos. Okay. Moving on to number 3, The Visit. M. Night Shyamalan comeback movie. It made 11.3 million. Experienced a 55% drop off in the second week.
Well, for these kind of horror films, it's not bad, but still kind of a big drop. Though.
If you take M. Night's name out of it, it is expected.
Yeah, it's normal. Yeah.
It's normal.
Yeah.
The most important thing is it's made for 5 million.
Yeah, it's already at 42 million.
42 million, and it brought M. Night's name back to the forefront.
Yeah.
That he could make a movie, even though his budget needs to be controlled. He can make this movie, and it could be, it can be profitable.
Yeah, now they can actually put a recent film to his name. Now they'll actually advertise his name again, from M. Night Shyamalan, the director of The Visit.
Right, and they didn't saddle him with a big budget. You saddle this guy with like 100 plus, or even a little bit below 100 million. You need to make that money back.
Yeah,
and sometimes the concept doesn't support it. Just like we said in the previous podcast, just like the Wachowski siblings. They saddled them with these like nearly 200 million budget movie, and they need to make that back.
And they give them complete free reign. That's the thing. And sometimes they just need another, high-powered producer that, they respect. Because Jason Blum, because what he's done in the horror genre, which is hit after hit after hit, because he kept his budget under control. Someone there with a lot of respect that M. Night Shyamalan probably, wouldn't mind getting a second opinion from.
Well, I think after a couple of duds, I think M. Night is open to opinions.
From anyone?
from anyone, because he's riding high before. I believe he thinks he knows his stuff better than anyone else, right? He thought he was right? But now that he's knocked down a peg, he's open.
Yeah. Although with something like that, you have to throw in someone who's been successful. Though. If you throw in some other random Joe Blow director, he'll probably still like, man, I have to sit here and listen to this guy.
Well, I think the most important thing is, hey, M. Night, I'm giving you money to make a movie. You're in. Versus M. Night sitting at home waiting for the phone to ring. Or him trying to get money for his movie.
Right, yeah. That's probably what they need to do with the Wachowskis. But who would you put in to direct? I mean, to produce a Wachowski movie?
No, it's not. It's not who to produce. It's okay. Give them a budget. 200 million. You have to make that back before you start making profit, right? You need to trim the budget to where it makes sense for them. Say, hey, this is the budget you get. These are the ranges where your movies make. We think this number will make money for us and for you. It was happy. Okay, and then hey, write a movie that fits within this budget.
Although at the same time, I still think they, kind of like The Visit, maybe they need a high-power, respectable producer to kind of ring them in a little bit, not let them throw too much of their, I mean, a little bit of eccentricity is good, but I think lately in their films, there's too much of it.
Right.
All right. Let's move on to number 4. The Perfect Guy, last week's number 1 movie. Experience a typical African-American audience drop-off, which is 63%. It made 9.6 million this weekend. It was number one last weekend. I think it grows like 26 million or 27 million. In 2 weeks of release, it's made 41 million. It's already a hugely profitable film at a budget of just 12 million. The drop is a little bit higher than I expected, but still, it's already a hit.
It is again a surprise movie. We didn't expect it to be the #1 movie. We thought The Visit would do better, and like we say, it's another movie where it stars African American cast members, and being the #1 movie a couple weeks in a row. And for its second weekend, it dropped huge because African American movies, or movies targeted toward that group of audience, tend to drop huge. They front load their movies, and then if it doesn't have wider appeal, it experienced this drop off, and that's what we're seeing here. And actually, The Visit held up better in the second week. Let's go on to number 5, which is occupied by Everest. It's another new movie that opened last week. It made 7.5 million only in 554 theaters, and those are I believe it's an IMAX exclusive.
IMAX and large format.
Right, and that's what's surprising about it. Before, like movies that are released in these like large format theaters, typically made in the 4 million-ish range.
Or less.
This one did way better. Because it's a real movie. Typically, those movies are documentaries.
Right. It did a lot better than what number were we putting on it?
Oh, actually, this is another one that you were kind of right on. You said 5 million. I thought it would do 3.
No, I'm kind of closer. We're only like a little notch.
Well, still, I thought because of the low theater count, I thought it wouldn't do as well. That's why I did the 3. But hey, there is an audience for this.
Of all the films in the top 10, is by far the one with the highest per screen average. Almost 14,000 per screen. I mean, the next highest are Maze Runner and Black Mass, both at around 7,000 to 8,000 per screen, and this one is 14,000.
And typically, these large format tickets cost more.
Also, typically, these large format movies, they hold up really well because there aren't many, IMAX movies, so they tend to play very well in the long run.
Right, they kept them in theaters longer because
there aren't
any exactly.
Yeah, a lot of movies aren't released in this format. They're gonna expand it nationwide this weekend, right?
I'm not quite sure, but it's possible. It could be like an IMAX exclusive for a couple of weeks.
Okay, I read somewhere that they were expanding it, but I'm not sure if it's this week or next week.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But
this is a very good start, and it's a pretty well-reviewed film, 73% on Rotten Tomatoes. I wasn't expecting much because, we've all seen the documentary, Everest documentary, and we've seen a lot of documentaries about Everest and the journey and how hard it is to get up there. This is kind of a dramatization of those documentaries, and surprisingly well-reviewed, to me anyway.
I mean, the concept for the mountain climbing movies are typically the same, right?
Yeah.
You get up, there's a storm that traps you there, you have to get down.
Yeah, true.
That's pretty much it, really. Yeah. You've seen them all, but hey, give credit to I guess the movie is where they brought something new. I guess it's a FX movie, and they filmed it especially for IMAX.
Another hit for Jake Gyllenhaal. He is always in that range. His movies always open in that range, kind of dependable. Although if this was released super wide, it would probably do better than his normal like 15 million range. Like opening. What do you think? Do you think this can do more than 50 million, which is kind of Jake Gyllenhaal's range?
I think it can. I think it can because I don't see what's holding this movie back, except the theater count.
Although at a budget of 55 million, it would have to do better than the typical Jake Gyllenhaal box office.
And I think it will because this is an IMAX movie, and they will keep it in IMAX theaters
for a while. Yeah,
for a while. So it's gonna make them money back.
Right.
No matter, regardless how long it'll take, it'll still be able to catch it, and people are gonna pay money because IMAX theaters are usually in these museums.
Yeah, yep.
Or other things like people go there, they watch it, they get out.
And this is a real movie.
Right.
All right, cool.
So yes, it will do more than 50.
Although this could do pretty well overseas too. You think?
I think so because IMAX has been expanding their theaters as well overseas.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the only way to experience these big screens is with IMAX, right? And there's nothing like it really. It's like this huge, gigantic screen, these speakers blasting at you. It's an experience. It's not just a movie; it's an experience. So I think it'll do well.
I wonder how if people from other countries are into mountain climbing films.
Well, it's not exactly a mountain climbing film. It's pretty much like it's a thriller. Those people that they try to make you care about them.
Yeah.
I mean, I went up the mountain, and then you are invested in their survival, really.
Yeah. So that genre, does it do all that well worldwide in the foreign market?
I will say effects movie will do well.
Yeah. Although there are a lot of effects. It's not your typical effects. It's not like you watch the Maze Runner and you're like, whoa, you can see the effects on screen. This is more like realistic effects.
Yeah, realistic effect, but there's also like vistas too. Normal people don't climb Everest. They never see it's like there, although they see in picture. But this one, they try to give you from the point of view of like being there. So that is different. So that is an effect in and of itself. It's like the different angles.
Okay, so what are you putting at the worldwide figure then?
I'm not sure.
You think? Do you think you'll do well worldwide, like 100 million, or?
I don't know, because if it's exclusive to IMAX, I don't know how many theaters there are worldwide.
Yeah. Although I do hear that they're expanding a lot in China, but still, like when movies are breaking records in China in IMAX screens, it's only about like here, like 2 million, 3 million.
Yeah, so maybe there's not that many of them yet.
Yeah. Maybe like the US, they do stay in those theaters for a while. And you do see a lot of IMAX movies grossing in 50, 80 million, and you never heard of them.
Right. It's because it is a very specific to those locations, like tourist locations.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to number 6, which is a War Room. It was number 3 last week. Experienced a 20% drop off from the previous week.
By far the lowest in the top 10.
Yes, and it's nearing 50 million in its domestic run.
And it only cost 3 million to make.
Yeah.
And we're gonna see more of these. Just when we thought they were in a decline.
Yes, War Room is one of it's in those Christian genre movies, which pretty much came out of nowhere because it occupied the number 1 spot.
For a couple of weeks.
I think 1 or 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2
weeks. It kind of edged straight
out. Wait, no. Yeah, just 1 week, I think, right?
Yeah, I guess it's so. It edged straight out Compton out of the top spot.
Yeah, right.
Usually Christian theme movies doesn't do well. They're in the
they're kind of on a downslide.
They're not on a downslide. They usually don't open that well, except the big Left Behind blockbusters and a couple others.
Left Behind.
Oh, okay. My Kirk Cameron's anyway.
Well, the recent ones. They usually don't. Yeah, like you say, they usually don't open this well. Except for that, there was a time when there's 2 or 3 Christian themed films that open up pretty well in this range, if not a little bit better.
Right.
But since then, there's been a huge downslide.
Right.
And so we thought, hey, this faith genre has maybe hit its peak and is going down to its normal range, which is, more like 90 minutes in heaven.
Which is like a couple million here and there, Usually, but then to be fair, it took the number 1 spot during Labor Day weekend, which is like a really slow weekend.
Yeah. But hey, just when you thought if it wasn't the War Room and we got 90 minutes in heaven, people would be writing, this fake genre is dead.
No, it's not dead. It's just usually just a blip. It pops up. There's always going to be these movies, but they don't really kind of like
Well, they're waiting for the resurrection.
right? And it happened. Hey, it happened.
Yeah, it happened. Yeah, and it happened. Yep.
You know, there are more movies, and I would have to say that the quality improved. You know, the quality from cinematography to sometimes even storyline improved. I mean, there will be those that are really, you know, you could tell that they're bad, but they're all these war rooms that up themselves in quality.
Right.
So that's why we're seeing the, you know, movies like War Room and others coming along. But of course, there will be others, 90 Minutes in Heavens.
Yeah.
But
Right.
you know, with War Room, you can say, hey, the genre is profitable, is there, and that with the right movie, it can break out.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, number 7.
Sure. A Walk in the Woods at 2.3 million this week, a 42% drop off, which is kind of actually surprisingly for most of the films in the top 10, kind of on the lower end. After 3 weeks, it's already made about 25 million, which is very good for a movie of this type. It's pretty much an indie film in wide release, you know, and it stars Nick Nolte, Robert Redford, Emma Thompson. I'm not sure what the budget is, but I don't expect it to be very high. Score another hit for, you know, these Oscar caliber actors, you know, kind of like Helen Mirren.
Yes.
You know?
Although her movies are typically cost more than A Walk in the Woods, I believe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the Woods, you know, like
Right.
I said, they just went to a national forest and started filming. It's good. I mean, you know, these people, Nick Nolte, you know, Robert Redford, Emma Thompson, you know, they make their names.
Yeah,
this is one of the movies where they got together saying, hey, these studios are not hiring us for this big movie. Let's get together and make my own movie. Pretty much.
Oh, I'm not sure how that went though. Is that how it went?
I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. But I'm just saying, it's like these older actors, you know.
Yeah. It's not that well reviewed though.
It's
like
not
44%.
It's one of those it's not one of those movies that are targeted toward these the you know, the young crowd.
Yeah.
It's one of the toward the adult, you know, more adults. So one of those real movies.
Right. Well, it was based on a book, right?
I believe so.
Okay, so a successful adaptation for older crowd.
Relative to its budget, I believe it's successful. It already made 24 million over 3 weeks, and I don't expect it to cost more than what, 5.
Yeah. It's a movie made for the a demographic that's underserved. Like if you look at the films in the top 10, this is like the only film for them, targeted at them. Yeah.
No explosions. No one's running from fireballs.
Yeah. Just checking out the scenery.
Yeah. No guns. You know. No mobs.
All right. Let's move on to number 8. Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation. 2.2 million this weekend. 45% drop off, which is a lot higher than how it's been holding up. But hey, most of the films in the top 10 are falling off by more than that. And it lost about 500 theaters. The total is at 192 million, which is which is very good. It's closing in on Ghost Protocol's figure. Over the weekend, it opened in China. By now, it's made over 120 million there.
Oh wow!
Which up its worldwide figure to 656 million. Ghost Protocol, the highest grossing of the series, is at about 690. So this is already closing in on that. And depending on how well it's holding up in China, it could get there.
If the movie's already in theaters for 8 weeks, to have a spot in the top 10 is pretty impressive. I mean, it's holding on quite well. Not much else we can say about Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation.
Yeah. Other than, hey, it opened really well in China.
Except, the new thing is that it opened really well in China. It looks like it's on track to surpass Ghost Protocol.
Maybe. Depending on how well it holds up.
But it looks like it'll hold. I mean, if it's judging by the domestic run.
It's hard to say, though, because films in China, they're super front-loaded. Like, I mean, Terminator Genesis, on its first day made like 26 million. At the end, it topped off at about 108. Yeah, so it depends.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll see whether or not it can get to 690. which is
All right.
what Ghost Protocol made. But nonetheless, it's already a huge hit.
It is. I mean, we're talking about which one will take the top spot, right?
Yeah.
Between the two. But hey, it's hugely successful. So we're not talking about something like The Man from Uncle.
Yeah, right.
Right. Where this is talking about a movie that's successful. It made its money, and it shows it has more steam. It gained more steam. Like they're making another Mission Impossible movie, and it looked like if it's anything
It looks
like
like the
Mission.
franchise has been rejuvenated, kind of like the Fast and Furious franchise.
Yeah, it's one franchise that they can keep going. It's not one where they have to reboot, for example.
Yeah. And it might be even slightly better than that because this series is gotten really, really good. The last two films, both are at about 92, 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, and both have done really well at the box office.
Right.
And and this is what, the fifth film? Wait, the
Yeah, I think
fifth
this is
or
the fifth.
fourth? Yeah, the fifth film. For a franchise to reach its peak at the fourth or fifth film, and fifth film is very impressive.
Yeah, I think it's one of those movies. Yeah, I think it's one of those franchises where they plan ahead. It's not like, okay, let's see how one movie did before we make the next one. It's one of those where they really have an idea what they want to do, kind of like the Fast and Furious franchise, where they have a longer story that they want to tell.
Right. They kind of mapped it out.
Right.
It wasn't movie by movie. They weren't living paycheck by paycheck.
Right, and they probably they kept the same people. Like Christopher McQuarrie, the guy who wrote the movie. He's directing this one.
Right, yeah.
Right, he directed this one, so they kept the same people. So I guess that's why there's continuity. And I think they're reteaming Tom Cruise and McQuarrie is reteaming for Jack Reacher 2.
I'm curious to see what the budget for that is and how well it does, because I mean the first one did well mainly because of its relatively low budget. We're talking about Jack Reacher, because it only cost 60 million and it ended up making about
218.
Oh, 218 million worldwide. Yeah. So that was successful because of its relatively cheap budget. But now with Mission Impossible, and basically it's like the same team from Mission Impossible. Would they keep the same budget, or would they blow it up into a higher budget?
No, well, Tom Cruise is a producer for the movie, so I think he would be smart about it. It's not like he's gonna pay himself more, or he's gonna up the budget if it's not warranted. They're probably gonna keep it the same.
Yeah, the 60 million range.
Yeah. Because Tom Cruise is a businessman, right? He's not a star. He's not just the one that's like, hey, pay me the money, I'll just act in this movie.
Right.
He's the guy behind it too. He needs to sell. He needs to make the movie. So that's why I believe he's gonna keep the budget the same. He's not gonna up it because the movie didn't do that well domestically. It made 80 million. Budget is 60. They're talking sequel only because it did well overseas.
Yeah, it did do well overseas. I think in general, if your movie makes more than its budget domestically and it's an action movie, then you're in good hands. But overseas, it did decently better.
That's why when it opened here domestically, people weren't thinking sequel because it didn't make enough to justify a sequel. They're only talking sequel because, hey, the foreign market, overseas market.
Yeah, definitely. But well, back then the DVD market exploded. But in general, when they can make back their budget domestically, they can make a profit on a home video. So like Jack Reacher, like 80 million is, on a 60 million budget, is actually pretty solid. This one, I don't think it was influenced by the overseas one. The ones that are influenced by the overseas ones are like Need for Speed, for instance, which, cost 60 million, but it only made about 40 million domestically. So if you were just basing it on that, they wouldn't make a sequel because they didn't even make back its budget here. But overseas, it made over 200 million overseas. And that's why they're talking sequels. But I think in Jack Reacher's defense, it's not only that it was well reviewed too, well regarded, and it made more than its budget domestically. This one, even if it didn't do that well overseas, there's still a justification for making a sequel. Because regardless of the overseas figure, it did make more than its budget here, and through home video, it could break even and even make a small profit.
Yeah, but not by much. I mean, normally the people who take care, who do the Excel sheets, they want to make a certain amount before they greenlit the sequel.
Yeah. They do.
Because
Yeah.
because they kind of figure in the math that, hey, the sequel is probably going to do less typically.
Yeah, typically, yeah.
So
Typically.
so if
But in general though, even like before the overseas market isn't as high as now, but even before, the general rule of thumb is if you can make back your budget in theaters, you can make a profit through home video and the smaller overseas market. So even if the overseas box office was just okay, they would still probably do a sequel just because it outgrows its budget here. Like there are films that are like, hey, it did really well overseas, like Need for Speed is one of them. And the other one is Pacific Rim. They failed to make back their budget here, but it did extremely well overseas.
Oh, and know about Pacific Rim? They're putting that movie on hold.
Yeah.
The sequel.
Yeah, I could see why. I mean, even though it did well overseas, the budget it still cost 190. It did 400 worldwide, so that's only about 2x its budget.
Yeah, the Geronimo del Toro just couldn't catch a break. His movies are well reviewed. People like this movie, just that it doesn't make much money.
They can't make a sequel for that one because something like Pacific Rim, which is well reviewed and has a huge following, usually do really well on home video. Like the fans will gobble up the Blu-rays and DVDs. And it did do 100 million in China a couple of years ago, and now China market has grown another 36%, and this year looks like this year's box office looks like it will grow another 30%. So a movie that did 100 million a couple of years ago, a sequel, if they release a sequel, can do 200 million.
I think the problem is that it goes beyond the budget of the movie. I think there's some problems with between Legendary and Universal.
Those issues, huh?
Yeah. I think Legendary might be going back to Warner Brothers. Remember they had this with Warner Brothers, and then they went to Universal, and now things might not be going that well at Universal between Universal and Legendary. So Legendary might be heading back to Warner Brothers. So
okay.
A lot of things to work out.
Okay. Right. So should we move back into number 9?
Yes, number 9. We kind of forgot about what we're doing.
We got lost in the forest.
Right. Number 9, Straight Outta Compton. It dropped from the 6th spot to the 9th spot, and it made about 2 million. Experienced a 50% drop off. In 6 weeks, it's already made 158 million.
I'm looking at the overseas figure right now. It's 25 million overseas. Nothing huge. I'm curious to see how it does in the following weeks. Although I'm not sure what the release pattern is overseas. Are they gonna do a platform release, like a country here, a country there?
Straight Outta Compton is not a movie. It's for the overseas market. It's more specific to the United States, really. Because it's about a rap group, the NWA, that's here. It's not as influential overseas. People don't know about NWA. And I don't think it's going to do the type of business overseas.
Definitely not this kind of, definitely not 160 million.
I wouldn't be surprised if it just made like 50 total overseas.
Could be. I mentioned it in previous weeks. 8 Mile did about 100 million overseas. But like we said, 8 Mile is probably has more of a bigger appeal overseas than Straight Outta Compton.
Right. It's about a white guy who went on to become a top rapper in a world dominated by black people. And it's more about his story instead of the rap itself. How he it's about Eminem, really, and Eminem at that time was pretty much a global star. A bigger one than. I don't know either, but I think he's.
I'll take your word for it, because if we stick with facts.
Because he was, at these music awards, like he won awards, at these main music awards shows, and those get picked up by the foreign press. So I think people know who he is.
Yeah, people are probably more familiar with Eminem than NWA.
And Eminem has, and Eminem has a longer career.
He hasn't made a splash in a while, right? Eminem.
Well, he doesn't need to right now. I mean, he's taking whatever. But when he was active, he actually has a longer career.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to number 10, Grandma. 1.6 million this weekend. Expanded. I think total is already made 4 million at a budget of just 600K. So one of these limited releases that expanded. Directed by Paul Weiss, starring Judy Greer, Marsha Gay Harden, and Lily Tomlin. I think it's pretty well reviewed. Let's see on Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, you couldn't see me right now, but I'm pretty shocked. I'm surprised with this movie just popped up, came out of nowhere. I didn't even know that it was expanding.
Me neither. Yeah, me neither.
It's like
I have heard about it.
Wait. There's a movie called Grandma.
Yeah.
But then it captured the 10th spot. But it's only like 1.5, 1.6 million.
Right. It's super well reviewed though. 92% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's one of those like indie movies. It's released by Sony Pictures Classic. They release these type of more mature fare for adults in these art house theaters. Surprised it popped out.
Yeah, it's a rated R comedy. Interesting.
Yeah. I know nothing about it, so I couldn't say.
Yeah, me neither. I read a couple of things about it.
Okay.
Yeah, from the director of About a Boy.
About a Boy and others.
Yeah, and a lot of others.
Bing Flynn, Little Fockers, American Pie.
A big recognizable name.
Who hasn't been doing anything of much lately?
Yeah. Oh, Captive didn't get on the top 10, but it's number 11. 1.4 million this week. Not that good.
Oh, it just missed the cut. Like a couple K. I thought this movie would do better than it did. Let's see, where did I have it? I have it at 5. You said 2, so you're right again. The reason why I thought it would do better is because I thought it has more mainstream appeal.
Mm-hmm. I saw the wrong trailer, so
right. It stars Kate Mara and David Oyelowo, and it's in the Christian genre.
Another tanker in the faith genre, but no one knows because War Room is taking a lot of the spotlight.
Right. I don't know why this one didn't do that well. Maybe because there's some violent elements to it. Like Oyelowo's character held Kate Mara's character captive.
The thing is, Fantastic Four tank. Kate Mara, she's an indie actress. So when Fantastic Four bombed, I mean, her name, her cachet didn't go up any higher.
I don't think Kate Mara's name has anything to do if Captive is successful or not. Like you say, she is a character actor.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So that's the thing. I don't see like any draw to it other than the Christian theme or faith theme film and War Room. Although War Room did well, I guess it shows that for every War Room, there's two. There's Captive and 90 Minutes in Heaven.
Maybe I'm reaching here. Okay. Maybe the problem with Captive is that it's not targeted toward any particular crowd. I mean, this one maybe it's only specific to the Christian crowd. Whereas War Room kind of has a kind of mix of the African American element in it. Because Kate Mara is a white woman. Oyelowo is black, so there's a mixture, and he's on the run from probably white cops. Like I say, I'm reaching. Maybe it's just that they can only take so many faith-based films in a week.
Yeah. They can only support one, not 3.
Right.
At the same time.
Right. Especially when it's really a crime thriller.
Right. I guess War Room is probably the more wholesome. Like, hey, save your family. Probably easier to sell than even 90 Minutes in Heaven.
Right. And Captive is really another black guy who's a criminal, really, could kill somebody and is on a run, and there's gonna be some redemption involved. But hey, at the base of it, another black guy, on the run from police. Okay, how about we move on to the new openings?
Okay, sure.
We have the Green Inferno, which is Eli Roth's movie. He's the guy who directed all these quote-unquote torture porn. People get chopped up, eaten, There's gonna be a lot of blood, a lot of guts. Yeah.
I'm not sure if he started the torture form. I think the Saw series started the torture porn. Torture horror film or torture porn.
Right.
And then he just kind of follow up with it.
He's just a practitioner of the genre.
Yeah.
And the Green Inferno, I believe, was supposed to release last year, and then it got delayed for some reason, and now it's here. And
the reviews so far are kind of mixed though. 56%, but for horror film, that's not too bad.
This is one of those movies where you either like it or you don't. Really, there's no in between. These kind of movies are pretty gruesome. they push some buttons. You can stand them. Like this thing is like a more extreme horror movie.
Yeah. And it's not that wide though, 1,500 theaters.
But it's wide enough.
Yeah, wide enough. Definitely wide enough. Okay, so what number are you putting it at?
I
think Eli Roth's horror films, they all tend to open in the like 8 to 10 million range, right? Even his most successful ones.
I don't remember because like he hasn't released a movie in a while. Let's see.
Let's take a look.
Hostel Part 2 open to 8. Hostel Part 1, 19. Cabin Fever, 8. So yeah, you're right about there, except with the exception of the breakout Hostel. Hostel
1, yeah.
And they're releasing more theaters, like almost double what the Green Inferno is released in. So let's put it at 5. I'm gonna do 5.
Yeah, I'm kind of putting it at 5 too. Even though Halloween's coming up.
These are not exactly horror movies. They're more like how much can you stand it? People, the blood and guts. So they're not trying to scare you. They're more trying to outgross you. Like, can you stand parts being cut up?
I wonder if that trend. It seems like people have moved past that trend. It was hot for a while, with the Saw movies and Cabin Fever, but it seems like horror films have moved out of that trend. The new horror films are more like The Conjuring and a little bit more back to the. It seems like the new horror films are more cleaner, not as violent, not as bloody. Yeah, I'm thinking 5 million. You're thinking 5 million. Yeah, we kind of agree.
Right. And even Eli Roth himself, I think he is trying to move away from this genre. He co-wrote The Man with the Iron Fist, and and then there's the Aftershock. I think a tamer movie. It's about earthquake.
Right.
And I like the Green Inferno. I think it's just maybe a remnant. I think it was made a couple years ago, and just getting released now. So.
Right. The release date was delayed. Right. Yeah, 5 million. 5 million. Let's see how it does next week.
Right. Okay. Let's go to the other new release. Hotel Transylvania 2.
The first one did pretty well, which is probably why we're seeing a sequel. I think the first one opened to like 45 million around there. Let me see. 43 million, and then it ended up grossing 148 million, which is pretty good. And at a relatively, I think the budget for the first film was only 85 million, so that's pretty good. This one looks like more of the same, although I don't see. Like, it's not one of those films where you hear people talking about it a lot. Like, I'm not sure if people were asking for a second one. It was just kind of there and it made its money. Well, the reviews were okay. It's 44% for the first one.
Right. I mean, the first movie did okay. It made 148 million here, 358 million worldwide. I mean, in terms of animation, that's just okay. Probably average. Not great, just average,
but the budget is only 85 million, so
right. But huge difference. But then again, you're talking about if there's an audience for this. If it's made like typically in the 500 range, then you're saying, hey, there might be like a potential franchise here.
So what are you thinking for Hotel Transylvania 2 then?
Hotel Transylvania 2, I think there's no children movie right now. And Hotel Transylvania 2 is it.
So you think it can match the first film's 43 million?
I think it can. I'm thinking that it'll do about the same. So let's go with 40.
You're going with 40? I'll use Meatballs as a comparison. I don't think the second Meatballs opened as well as the first one. Oh, it actually did open better. Okay. Okay, in that case, I'll go with around 40. I'm agreeing with you.
So we both could be wrong or we both could be right. So hey, that's company.
Yeah.
Forgot to mention, it's an Adam Sandler movie. Him and his group, Andy Samberg, Kevin James, the usual suspects of Adam Sandler movies. How about we move on to The Intern?
This one is curious. I'm curious about this one.
There was a movie with a similar title called The Internship.
Yeah, right.
Which stars
Which didn't do that well.
Which didn't do that well, and it stars our friend, who's that guy? Who was in No Escape?
Owen Wilson?
Yes, Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, Vince Vaughn, yeah.
The two guys. They pretty much took a kind of similar concept. They took an internship at Google, but this one stars Robert De Niro and Anne Hathaway.
Well, I thought the premise for this one is a little bit more interesting than the premise for the internship, because this one's kind of like, here's a guy, here's an old guy, he's retired. You hear sometimes about people who retire. When they retire, they're like, what the hell am I going to do? It's kind of boring. Let's get back to work. And with him, it's kind of like, it's one of these, seems kind of like that. It's like, man, I'm retired, but it's kind of boring. So then he's like, oh, why not do some things that I've always wanted to do, and, he'll go, he tries to learn a different language, and then he takes on an internship. And I guess it's kind of interesting because he no longer needs the money. He's retired. He's just doing it for fun. He's just doing it because he wants to do it, not because he needs to collect a paycheck. Interesting premise. I'm curious to see how the execution is.
Just like the internship, it's totally fake. It feels so fake. First of all, they're not going to hire him. Okay, there's a startup run by Anne Hathaway. She's a 30-year-old founder of the company, right? The companies are all young people, as expected. Like the type of people you find at online startup. And for them to hire this old guy, 70 years old, it's pretty much unheard of. So it's totally fake.
Well, as an intern, it's unheard of.
Unheard of, even though intern or whatever is unheard of.
No. If it's not an intern, as an executive, as a grizzled veteran, it's not unheard of. There a lot of young startups with young people. They often hire, at an executive level, some of these grizzled old men with experience.
But we're not talking executive level. We're talking about like interns, some low level. Right?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying.
We're not talking C level, right? We're talking about just even if they're not gonna hire this guy if it's not at the C level. So that's why it feels so totally fake.
Yeah, I think as you hire him as an intern is totally fake.
Right.
But so if they hire him at a executive level or higher level, like even doing something else at a normal salary job is not unexpected. But I think as an intern, it's unexpected, and that's probably why we're getting the movie, because if they hire him as as not as an intern, as a full salary normal worker, then it wouldn't be too shocking. Then the premise wouldn't be that interesting. Then we wouldn't have a movie.
Exactly. And even though they put Anne Hathaway front and center, it's really a Robert De Niro movie.
Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah,
it's really from his perspective. It's like you see all these young people going about their lives, but he already has all these life experiences. The tagline is "Experience never gets old." And he goes on to teach all these young people, the ropes, pretty much.
Right.
Right. I don't know. I'm gonna probably do 15. I think.
Yeah, I saw the trailer. It doesn't appeal to me either. It seems like you said, kind of vanilla. It has I thought the premise is interesting, but when you watch the trailer, it just seems like it's there. I do notice the premise, but I don't feel like the execution makes it really interesting. Like I wouldn't be like, hey, I'm gonna go out to the theater and pay to see this.
And it's just like the world there is kind of alien to the rest of the people, you know, normal people. Online startup, all these young hippies, an old guy there working as an intern. It's not that believable in the first place, even though it's released in over 3,000 theaters.
You're going 15 million?
I'm going 15 million.
I'm going lower. I'm going 8 to 10 range.
You could be right, but I'm just saying, you know, I was wrong before when I go by their count.
Yeah, unless the reviews are great.
I don't think critics will be kind to this movie because, like us, they will think that, hey, you know, it's not a believable premise at all.
It depends on the execution.
Right.
There are premises that are interesting, sounds interesting, definitely not believable, but when it's executed well, it can surprise people in a good way. And then when it's not executed well, you know, then it's like, who thought this was a good idea? You know?
Right.
But when it's executed well, it's like, yeah, this idea is genius. Why didn't they do this before?
Right. But hey, I'm just saying, it's not going to do, just like the internship before it, it's not going to do that well.
I'm even more pessimistic. I'm going 10, 8 to 10.
All right.
Even though I think it's an interesting premise.
Okay, so that's what we have for this week, and we'll come back next week and see how we did.
Yeah, see if we can get on a roll again. Well, this week you and I pretty much agree on everything. So we're either right or we're wrong.
All right, and I think something to keep an eye on is the Green Inferno, because the performance of that movie will determine if these types of movies are coming back.
Torture porn.
Yeah, well, we'll see more Saw movies. We'll see more Hostels.
Yeah, and even the Final Destination movies started to get, you know, turned into that.
Well, the Final Destination is tame in comparison to like Hostel and, you know, Green Inferno.
The earlier ones, but the later ones added a lot of torture porn elements too.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the third one was like, I'm like, oh, this is getting more gory and more gruesome.
Right. So
it kind of affected the whole genre.
So pretty much, if you want to see more of these movies, go watch the Green Inferno. If not, just
wait for The Conjuring 2.
Yeah, keep your friends away. All right, and then of course we're waiting to see if the Intern will fail or not.
Really. Yeah, I'm curious about that one.
Yeah, because it's open in like over 3,000 theaters. We're not that high on it, but who knows? You know, there's Robert De Niro, there's Anne Hathaway. I thought the premise was not believable at all, but I'm not the general audience.
Right. We'll see.
All right. Let's come back next week.
All right. See you guys next week.
All right. Thanks for listening.